Welcome to the Bladtcast 23, also known as 23 Skidoo. Welcome. I'm very excited to be doing our first live stream of 2023. But of course, for those of you who subscribe to the audio podcast, it's just an episode. But we appreciate being here, and we also appreciate those of you already in the chat. As always, I am Christian Blatt, the Skidoo Master. Let's see how many times I can say Skidoo. I'm on 3 already. Here's my promise. Over the next hour-ish, yes, I will say 23 Skidoo 23 times. I'm at 4. But with us is America's favorite Skidoo, Mr. Jeff Duray.
Skidooby-dooby-doo.
Now, that one doesn't count because that's yours. But I'm going to say it. So, and of course, the William J. Starling, host of History Rated R, author of book yet to be released, star of stage and screen. You've done stage, right?
Yeah, long time ago, but yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, wait, am I lying?
No.
Well, we're 11 days into the new year as we record this, but I think that's still appropriate to say Happy New Year to you both. There have been some texts, but I haven't actually seen nor spoken to you. There's a cutoff from when you should stop saying Happy New Year to people. I think it might be Martin Luther King Day. We're a little bit short of that.
Okay.
So
I think like a Labor Day rule.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
The latest I think we ever kept up our Christmas tree was actually Martin Luther King Day, because we were having like a big brunch in early January once, and we're like, place looks better when the tree's up. I'm like, you don't have to convince me. So, but this year, January 2, it was out.
It was out.
But yeah. It's just
usually
we're moving, and we'll get it.
Oh,
we'll get
true.
into all the reasons why we didn't.
That's true.
We needed a Christmas tree to not be in the living room. Jeff Duray, we didn't really get into the way that your 2022 ended. I should have known. I never need to say, Jeff, is it okay to talk about your life? Considering you're like, yeah, I was banging girls when I was 5. So I mean, we've
my neighbor.
Yeah. I mean, still a girl. And wait, was your neighbor the robot Megan from the hit film that's out now?
Methregan, yes.
Methregan, yeah. Which I wish I had tweeted before I read it a dozen times. That the first thought I had is, what are they going to do when Megan 3 comes out? And they've already put the 3 in the title.
Oh no!
But
isn't on the poster? It's like 3 lines.
Yeah,
sometimes it's a 3, and then sometimes it's 3 lines.
Yeah.
I think they should just pivot and make it a workout movie called McGaines.
Pain and McGaines.
There is a Key and Peele sketch with a character. Jordan Peele's playing like a girl named Megan, and it's spelled Megan. And Keegan Michael is chasing her like from the club. She's like, "No, don't talk to me, no!" And he's like, "Megan, wait!" For like 20 minutes, just follow you. You left your jacket, and all I think of when I see the poster is Megan and her just going, "No."
That feels like the kind of movie that we all collectively would have gone to see on like a weekday afternoon at one point. What are the odds that the Megan movie is worse than the Rambo movie we saw? I think it's got to at least be more entertaining than that.
I think it would be, even though I think it looks stupid. It can't be worse than.
They gender swap Chucky, and I'm fucking pissed about it.
I heard that the director of the Megan film, they'd had it in development for a while, and when the Chucky reboot came out, and it was basically the same idea as their movie, they were a little nervous. But
how could they be? But Chucky's already that's already a
no. But this Chucky dealt with sort of like the AI aspect instead of just the doll. Instead of like, I'm a murderer and now I'm inside of a doll because of voodoo, and stop asking questions. Just watch me chop, 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 kill, kill, kill.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, in the chat, as always, Dominicus Saxon, Happy New Year, Blatt Nation. I'm convinced he doesn't actually work. And if there's a lot of him chatting on our shows that I hope his employer never sees. In any case, oh, wait, you know what? This is important. Dominicus Saxon says, I thought the 3 lines was supposed to be like the levels of something being charged up. Yeah, I think that it's still a 3 though. But we'll get into the semantics later. And we'll also get into semantics. We'll be right back right after. Okay, we're back. And Jeff DeRay, I wanted to talk to you about you had an interesting end to 2022. I don't quite know the exact length of time. It was a rough go. You seem good now. And when we talked right before Christmas, we actually talked on the 23rd. You seem to be doing all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly fine. So it started like right before Thanksgiving. I was just getting really sick, like waking up at 4:30 in the morning and then just violently throwing up or like dry heaving and shit. And I was like, huh, that sucks. And then went a couple days doing that. And then on the 4th day, I was like, maybe I should see a doctor. So first we tried to go to the doctor and it was like urgent care because the doctor's office isn't open on the weekends because people don't get sick on the weekends. And they were just like, we don't have fluids.
That's a scientific fact. That's the first thing they teach you in medical school. Don't worry. People don't get sick on the weekends or when you have an afternoon tea time. No one gets sick. Anyway, back to you. Sorry.
No. So they basically told me to like drive to Foxborough, which is like 30 minutes away. They're like, just drive there and get some fluids. And I was like, that's not what I'm here for.
They had you go to the stadium?
They told me to. I didn't do it. I was
go see Tom Brady's former doctor?
Yep. The one who like massages your butthole to make you live forever.
Is that's how he does it?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
note to self: make sure to go to Foxborough this summer.
It's also happily named Fox Butthole, but no. So after that, I just was like, okay, I guess I'll be sick for another day. And then it was the next day that I finally was like, okay, I'm really not okay. Called the doctor because they were finally back. It was like a Monday, and they're like, you should go to the emergency room. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went and got like a EKG on my heart and stuff because it was like hard to breathe at that point because it's like after you throw up everything for like 4 days, somehow it makes it the rest of your body not do well. Weird. So in dealing with all that, they basically were like, so we can't diagnose you with anything. And they ran a bunch of tests. But the thing you most likely have is this thing called CHS, which stands for cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, which basically just means you've smoked so much pot for so long, it now makes you sick. So it's apparently this like newer thing that's not as rare as you'd think it would be, but also is generally not really known about or talked about a ton. So that's why
when you first mentioned to me that you had this, I it is not surprising that I'd never heard about it. But the way that my wheel started spinning is like, okay, yes, we know that you enjoyed an occasional toke. I think it's fair to say, but how is it that the Snoop Dogg's, the Seth Rogens, and even the Jerry Garcias of the world managed to get through life without? I mean, I guess maybe Snoop Dogg had a bout of this and then figured out a way through it. Faux shizzle. But, so you're saying that it's actually increasingly common these days.
They've noticed that it's become more of a thing, I think, because of all the recreational and other like marijuana use becoming more prominent and whatever. I also think it would make sense if it's connected to the higher concentrate stuff, because I've been doing that stuff for years at this point on a daily basis, or I had been. And so it's easy that like that amount of THC consumption on a regular basis would affect your cannabinoid receptors, because that's essentially what it is every time you smoke, it affects your brain and your guts. And so every time you smoke, the receptors in your gut say, we should throw up. This is no good. But the ones in your brain are like, this is awesome. I don't feel sick at all. So while you smoke it to inhibit nausea, like if you're a cancer patient or whatever, if you've done it too much, which is what basically CHS is, the receptors in your brain stop functioning as well. So the ones in your gut take over and go, oh, we smoked, now I'm sick. So I basically had to completely stop smoking everything. So, I stopped, and I had stopped completely for a little while. More recently, I've gotten back into vaporizing flower because the headaches and all sorts of shit that I was starting to get through were just like too much to deal with. And I've noticed doing it like that is a much lower amount of THC and everything. So I actually don't get throw up sick. I just feel like there's a giant knot in my throat, but I'm able to deal with it. And it's better than like having my head feel like it's going to pop.
Well, now, obviously, everybody knows I'm a cool guy. I'm no SpongeBob SquarePants, but I might ask some square questions for these squares out in the audience. Yeah, it's hard to hit my microphone. What are you going to do about it? My questions are in order. The first one is recreational legal weed. Is it stronger than the shit you used to buy from like your weed guy who you'd, go meet down at, the corner or whatever? And could that be contributing to this? That's my first question.
In general, I mean, I'm sure there are people who deal with this just from smoking regular weed because everybody's bodies are different and the way that you process things are different, right? For me, it seems most likely that it's because I was doing high concentrate. So it's like when I'm doing the dabs, right? I'm doing stuff that's like 80, 90% THC. Your really high end flower is like 30. So just like this tiny little thing that I'm doing is 3 times as potent as the most potent weed you're likely to get at a shop like that. So yes, the weed is stronger in the sense that it's more refined. It's a scientific botanical science, right? So when you've got more people doing it for production, you can help innovate the ways that they produce it and get higher yields, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's probably better than like something somebody grew in their backyard or where, came from wherever. But that said, it's not necessarily going to lead to problems. It's more like the only people that it really tends to affect are long-time habitual smokers. So it's like you have to have been smoking every day for years before it really affects you. And I never really took any tolerance breaks ever. So again, there's lots of little things that you can do that probably mitigate your risks of getting CHS. And that's the other thing is there's no guarantee that's what I actually had, because a lot of the reports are like, oh, if you ever smoke again, you're going to get sick right away. And that's not the case with what happened for me. Like when I tried to do it again, I was okay. I felt like I got way higher than I've been in a long time. I had taken such a long time off. And like I said, I'm having some of the dysphagia, which is like when you feel like something's caught in your throat, but it's not. But that happens just in general. And the extra shitty part was, right, so I dealt with that for a week. And then I had a week of being like, okay. And then immediately after that, I had a bout of vertigo. So basically, like my whole world was spinning for about a week.
Which my thinking is one thing that could treat vertigo would be cannabis in some way, right? Is that correct?
But the last time I had a bout, I literally smoked, and that's what helped.
And back to your earlier point, would you say that it is better for the public out there to consider freshly squeezed Florida grown weed instead of the stuff from concentrate?
I think you can do concentrates. I knew that I had like really, really bad habits because it's like, if we're going to get into it. So the biggest reason I smoked is loneliness. I get really lonely and really depressed a lot. And the easiest way to be fine being by yourself is to get high, to smoke some weed, because then all those feelings of like, what am I doing? Blah, 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 just go away. And you're like, I feel good. So, being in a kind of extra isolated position, I was smoking way more than I should every day, all the time. It's like, I was consuming significantly more than Natasha. It's just like the amount that she's had to buy since I stopped versus when we were both smoking. It's like very obvious I was going way too overboard with things. So it's in a lot of ways, I've looked at it as like a real positive, just like something to force me to change my habits, right? Like sometimes those are the best things when it's just like a wrench gets thrown in the works and you just can't justify doing things the way you used to do them. So you have to make a positive change. And so that's the way I kind of took it. I didn't get upset about it. I wasn't like, I can't smoke anymore. I was like, all right, I got to, shift what I'm doing. And I was totally cool with it. And really the only reason I've gone back to doing the tiny little bit of stuff that I am now is to keep because there are obvious health benefits. Like my body does a lot better when I start having like a really bad headache if I smoke a little bit of vaporize a little bit of flower, which again is way lower in THC content, makes my head feel better. I don't get too high. I just feel better. I could experiment with CBD, but mostly CBD's activated by THC. So you kind of need a little bit of THC to get the real benefits of CBD anyways.
Will, as you're hearing this tale unfold, I know you knew a little bit about this. Just what are some of your thoughts? I feel like you might have been ready to jump in with something earlier, but I yammered over you. So
no, just that also like it makes sense that it would be hard. I mean, something like this cold turkey, it's like I would think anything like this takes some weaning off. You know what I mean? Like to go immediately then to zero, your body's I would think you'd need a little bit to work your way backward as opposed to like, it's like not to say it's the same, but like people who drink, like drink, if I drink a lot, which like I do, and then there's like, I'm gonna take a couple of days off. I'm like, oh my God, get like shade. If it's like been a rough weekend, I'm just like, oh, right. This is something I do consistently. And when it's not happening, I'm very aware of the fact that it's not, or coffee, even like caffeine. So it makes sense that you have to kind of wean off of it a little bit.
No.
Yeah, and I think the amounts, my little bit of the understanding. It's when we look back on Bladtcast 420, when the three of us all did edibles. I don't remember the amounts we talked about, but I know that I was like the little dust of the the Horton Hears a Who and Whoville. That's like boop, I had that, and I think Will had like a man's amount.
I think it was like
Jeff was like, yeah, they backed up a fucking dump truck, and I just laid under it. Yeah,
I thought I remember you saying you took 400 milligrams. 400 milligrams of an edible was like nothing for you, and I was like, oh my God. Like I've accidentally taken 100 milligrams before, and it ruined my life for 3 days. Like I was high on this podcast the day after I accidentally took 100
I remember that.
And I was just like, oh God.
Yeah. I'd say like 250 milligrams was like I'm going to start to feel something kind of a dose.
That's crazy. Your tolerance is so high.
My tolerance is high for a bunch of reasons because I did it all the time. And then I have a high tolerance for things in general because I'm a larger person.
Except bullshit.
Yeah, that's true. Zero bullshit tolerance.
Right. Truth to power, brother.
But I mean, the best story is this was when it was all still like medicinal in California. I was working at Premiere at the time, and I had gone to pick up a muffin for myself and this other kid. There was these muffins at this one shop, and they were 1,000 milligrams in just this like one muffin, right? So they at the shop are like, do not under any circumstance eat more than a quarter of this in any one go. I was like, okay, cool. I went back to the studio, and we both ate the entire muffin. And so I went home after that, and I rode this is when I was living in Glendale. I rode my bike from my house in Glendale to the Galleria, was like walking around, bought some sunglasses, and then rode my bike back and was like, I feel great. I don't know what they were talking about. Ordered a pizza, and then it all hit me like a shit ton of bricks, and I was like, oh, I don't feel good. And I just like passed out for the rest of the weekend. I was like, no.
Look, if they didn't want you to have that much of it, the muffins shouldn't have been so big. It's like, why do they put Coors Light in a 30 pack if they don't want me to drink all 30 of them? Doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah. No, that's a serving size.
A friend of the YouTube channel, a former fan of various Dennis Miller shows. I'm always hesitant to go to him, but Roz JD, I don't know what he's talking about. People are weak if they can't handle THCA, flash vaporized, and see, I can't even say that word.
Decarboxylated.
Thank you. In the absence of CBD, is there something to what he's saying? There were like two words that I didn't quite get. So
no idea what he's talking about.
I got this part though. You turned into Jonah Hill, and I mean, I guess, but because I mentioned Seth Rogen, and Jonah Hill's always sort of like the, he was like, I mean, he starred in Superbad because Seth Rogen got too old for the part. So he's like kind of often been like the TV version of Seth Rogen. And then I think then they both branched off and had wildly successful careers. But
debatable.
Yeah, debatable. Yeah. No. I mean, which one of them made a Sausage Party movie though? That's the real question.
You're right.
The real question.
Yeah.
And this is okay. All right, so he's saying that Jonah Hill couldn't handle the strong weed and went psychotic. He started taking judo classes with little kids. sounds like a movie that he made. It's he has to teach the judo class because it was something that happened in like the divorce settlement. It's like, all right, but you're gonna have to teach a judo class. Like there was the premise behind Norm Macdonald's sitcom was that he was a social worker because he'd been a hockey player, and he like owed the government a lot of money or something.
That sounds like Mighty Ducks.
Social worker.
Yeah, it's probably the same idea as Mighty Ducks.
These fucking kids. God.
And somehow Artie Lang was his brother because they look the same.
Why is it always like movies where like questionably deplorable men, like who are menaces to society, like what they have to do is like volunteer with children? Like that's the worst. That's probably the least
Those are the
likely
worst
group
people,
of people we should give and trust you to take care of them. But okay. If it's a good movie plot, then let's do it.
Yeah. For his crimes against society, Jeffrey Epstein has been sentenced to.
You need to rehabilitate. You got to make peace with kids.
He was gonna have to become a kindergarten cop, actually. So
that's not cancer.
It's a good thing that he took his own life. The official story that I think we should all believe. I don't see any reason. There's nothing fishy about that turn of events. And if he did get as they call in the business, if he did get Hillary Clinton, I couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Literally couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Hillary Clinton?
Because speaking of Norm Macdonald on The View, so it's like, oh, the Clintons are murderers. And Barbara Walters was not letting him have that conversation. He's like, no, but it's really well known. This guy Vince Foster died under peculiar circumstances, and Barbara, yes, she did a show like The View, but at the same time, she's still a newswoman, and she's like, you can't come out of my show and say Hillary Clinton's a murderer because she is. Wink. Anyway. So Jeff, I'm glad to hear that you're doing reasonably well. And then you sort of answered one of the things that I was wondering, which was if you were going to have to go like cold turkey for the rest of your life. And it seems like that's not the case. Are you hesitant to, dip into the old mushroom bag or anything else? Or you feel like this was specifically a weed related issue?
Well, specifically the CHS is a weed related issue, and it was not at all the psychedelic effects of it. It was the physical effects on my body. Like the same reason why I was taking such high amounts of the edibles is because it was like my brain had gotten so used to smoking these high level concentrates and all this shit that it's like it barely affected me. Like I barely felt anything when I would smoke. I was just like, I feel a little less tension on my body. And that was about it. So it was a really nice to kind of be forced to take the tolerance break, because now it's like, I can do this, significantly reduce. They have Natasha has what's called a PAX 3. So it's just this little, handheld device. You pack a tiny little bowl into it and it heats it up. So you're not even getting all the extra particulates in. And then it just gives me a nice little head change, but I'm not like high or anything, because I'm also used to not really getting high from smoking. So it's like, okay, this is serving the purpose that I need it for, which is just mostly when I have really bad headaches, which has been, all that stuff that was happening then followed up by the crazy winter storms that we've been having, I think was just a recipe for disaster, because anytime the barometric pressure kind of goes crazy, my head suffers. So it was like hard to tell how much of it was the weather and how much of it was like, oh no. Because so it's like with the vertigo and stuff, I also completely changed my diet because I was feeling so shitty that I was constantly Googling anything that could be like the cause of the vertigo and everything that you could possibly do. I was doing these things called cantilever maneuvers. So it's literally like you sit on the edge of your bed and you slam your fucking head back and then turn to the side and then turn to the other side and then sit up real quick. And it's like supposed to maybe dislodge some of the crystals that might have come out into your inner ear because of this, and it wasn't helping. So then I switched to low sodium diet, right? So I've been cooking myself I've been cooking for myself a lot more than I used to, and, you know, paying attention to all the little ingredients and checking all my daily values of sodium in every fucking thing, which is in everything.
Yes.
Because you have to have some sodium to survive. That's kind of, it's a shitty thing to need to go low sodium, because it's like you need sodium, but also not too much sodium, but also everything has way too much sodium. So have fun.
Yeah, because it's like anytime you try to cut out other things like sugar, carbs, and things, and you're like, yeah, it's a good thing you're not trying to get the salt or sodium out of these things, because, you know, there's got to be something in there. You're trying to have these other things not in it. So you got this low carb thing, but it's like, yeah, we just kind of dropped an entire salt lick into it when we were making it. What are you going to do about it? You were talking about storms, Jeff. Was it I know that like the Buffalo area was like, you know, this like unprecedented, like, you know, just feet and feet of snow. Did you over in jolly old New England, did you get some wintry mixes and big snow accumulations out that way?
I'm pretty sure some people did, but I remember like the way the map was working out, it's like a lot of Western Mass was getting it, and then there's
Right.
just this slice basically right around Boston and south of it, which is where I live, that was like, haha, fuck you, rain. So when that massive storm,
What are you gonna do? Fucking snow on me? Yeah, come on, give it a fucking try.
Snow is a pain in the ass because you have to shovel the driveway, but then afterwards and around it, it's like, oh, snow. It makes the environment look much prettier. It's like a fun thing. You can do things like skiing and sledding and stuff. But this was just like, what if it was high 30s, low 40s, freezing cold rain all the time? And what if I up the ante by saying hurricane level winds that literally Natasha went to go to work in the storm and it ripped the windshield wiper off of the car. So she had to come back and take a different car to work because winds were so intense. And so you're also like, because there's a bunch of trees in my backyard, like right close to the house. So I'm constantly like, don't fall over onto the house. I do not want to have to deal with this right now. Don't fall over.
So you didn't consider getting on the hood of her car and just staying there with your arm
With a
and like
squeegee?
going, just like going back and forth with your arm, becoming a human windshield wiper?
I offered, but she said, no thanks.
I wanted to actually be clean. Here in Los Angeles, you know, if there's a drizzle, everybody cancels all their plans for the rest of the week and hides under the bed. But when there's actual rain, you just realize like, oh my God, there's no way that this place just isn't designed for it to rain as hard as it did for, you know, 3-4 days. And Will, obviously you've been in town over the last like week or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you definitely were witness to like, ooh, it's still going. And it was just like, you know, usually it runs over to the side. There's places for it to go, but then eventually there's just so much rain. You're like, I think there's nowhere else for it to go anymore. You know, it's gone.
I never see the, like, I always like, there's videos of like Melrose like flooded like a river, and I'm like, I'm never around any of the places when it's, for me, like where we live, like it got pretty wet, obviously, and there was like areas where there was like really big puddles, but for the most part I was like, this is not a huge inconvenience for me. But it's like all over the city, like flooding and mudslides and shit, and I'm like, I guess this is a decently placed part of town where I don't have to deal with the inconveniences of flooding.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about some personal experiences, but something that I witnessed this morning outside of the judgment-free zone is this was not, if this is obviously just for our visual audience, it was not like this when I went. I think I went Monday night. And you go there today, and just so much of the paint had peeled off just from the rain.
Wow.
And, you know, that tells me a couple things. And I'm sorry, I was not judgment-free out in the parking lot, but I was in the parking lot, so it's okay. Yeah. Inside, I didn't judge anybody who worked there, anybody who was working out. Outside, I had judgment. And my judgment said, wow, that's a shitty paint job.
Yeah.
Because like, oh, the rain washed it away. Is that what happened?
I mean,
So
those buildings and that area is like,
yeah.
it's kind of a garbage location, but
Well, it's literally like for the literally everyone in the audience, including Jeff, who's never gone to the Planet Fitness in Burbank, just Will and I. It's literally like there's a fence and the runway to the Burbank airport is right.
that's right. Yeah.
It's like it looked like I was driving into a Southwest jet this morning when I was pulling out. And go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I feel like all construction, like everything in California is only built to just bake under the fucking sun, right?
Yeah.
It's like all the paint is meant to be paint that when it clearly fades in 2 days after it's been painted, that it'll look fine. It's fine, nice and faded.
Fine.
It's not meant to be any kind of weather resistant because we don't have weather. Like I can't imagine how bad the flooding was. I mean, not like flooding, but like the flooding of the streets. Because again, even when it drizzles, the reason everything's canceled is because it's like the highways look like they have more water than came out of the sky. It's just like, how can you so poorly and inefficiently build a road system? Because I can't imagine that like just because it gets so hot means you shouldn't have any drainage or anything else when it's like rain does happen. It's not
it doesn't happen often. And I think the Los Angeles area is designed for, a moderate amount of rain a few times a year, which is usually what we get. But when you have like, I think somebody characterized it as, I think it was actually my friend Nate Miller tweeted that it was, these are the kind of storms that God warned Noah about. Just like the amount of water that was there. And it just eventually there's nowhere to go. And what I experienced personally is the room that I am in now, which I'll have an announcement about this room in an upcoming episode. But the room that I'm in now, where I've done many Bladtcasts and various other shows over the last 3 years, we've lived here for 12 years now. And the only time water ever got into this room is because of an issue with a pipe. Water never came in from the outside. Well, water got in, and I can look all around here, and you can see, it's drying. I've had to throw away a few things. The good thing is that all these comic books you see here up on a shelf.
Yeah,
that's why you don't put them on the floor.
Right.
For the one day every 4 years where it rains that hard. You want to make sure that they're up high. And I did have a bag of comics that was actually on the floor, but I had a hardbound volume of something that, let's just say, I didn't care that much about, and that soaked up all the water. And then when I go through the box of comics that did get wet, I was like, oh look, the ones that are bagged and boarded are in good shape. There's a reason we keep them safe. Well, Ghost 8386, good to see you. Says, I've been living in the Inland Empire since 1986. So I'll ask Ghost because he's got more experience in this area than I do. I'll have lived here 20 years in August. And Will, I know you're a native of SoCal, but interesting. So is this like a once in a lifetime thing that happened for you, Ghost? I had never seen anything like this. Dominicus Saxon with the on-brand comment that didn't come up. There it is. So Christian's murder hole is now Dagobah. Yes, basically is what happened to it. And it's a little musty in here. I'm not going to lie. It's not a great smell. I had to throw away some cardboard. For the most part, things are okay. This is the stuff that I worry about. This is the stuff why it's on the shelves. And for some of you know that we've bought a home also in beautiful Burbank, California, and we're gradually moving things into that. Well, water got into the garage at that house too. So that was it was like, oh, I got stuff out. Oh boy. But most stuff we have is in like those huge plastic bins from like the Container Store or Target or whatever. And I spring for the ones with the hefty brand name, because then that means that the lid's closed. So for the most part, I did okay. But Christ, has it been a pain in the ass while I'm trying to move. It's just like, oh, because now it's like, yeah, I was gonna just move all this shit, and there's like stuff that I'm like, oh, I should throw that away. Well, then it's like stuff. Well, now I have to throw it away, you know. But
I feel like it's annoying when you have to like carry a box to your car in the rain. One
yes.
thing.
Yep.
But if you're moving your entire home, I could imagine that.
Yeah.
I
And
would
there
get
were
very
a
angry.
couple days where I was just like, you know, I'll stack them, I'll put stuff in them, but I wasn't actually moving anything. Yesterday afternoon, the heavens opened, and it was glorious.
Until they close again on Saturday.
Yes, yeah, I know. And I'm like, can I have everything into the new place? And then the problem with having the new house is that you don't know where the water comes in, you know. So it came in on the side of the garage, and there's like the only thing that got damaged was the box for our Christmas tree that we're planning on probably throwing away anyway. So everything else was in plastic bins, and it's like, whatever.
Well, at least
So
then there you go. You get to learn the weak rain spots.
Yeah,
right away.
I know. But my office is the back part of the garage was converted into an office by a previous owner. So I was just like, I don't know where to put anything in here. I have like a folding table with like a bunch of plastic containers stacked, probably a little too high. And I was just like, I just didn't know what was going to get wet. I don't have any shelves in there. And so, you know, we're feeling it out, but it'll be fun. And you'll see one day people will be able to see the office that I'll have over there in the new house. But Will, it seems like your part of LA didn't you didn't seem to have some of the same issues that those of us in the Valley did.
No, I mean, apparently up, like, I'm not that far from Melrose, but apparently up in certain areas it was fucking horrible. But I guess I'm in a decent location where it.
Yeah. Well, you don't live with
too
the
crazy.
riffraff. I mean, I think that's safe to say, right?
Yeah.
Melrose Place.
Yeah. Fuck that place. And I was driving yesterday for work to go up to the studio, and it was raining pretty hard, but I didn't have any trouble getting up there. I don't know. There is a degree to which I see it. I see photos of it and video and the news, and I'm like, this shit's really horrible. But then I also listen to, you know, people in Los Angeles, anytime anything happens that isn't a regular day, like people talk about it for forever. Any kind of earthquake, even if it's like a 3.5, for days, everyone's like, where were you when the earthquake? Yeah, where were you? I was in my house and I was making a sandwich, and the knife, I felt the knife, and I was like, am I dizzy? Like, people just go on and on about
I don't want to point.
event.
I don't want to point any fingers, but I think I might know a couple of gents who worked for a network who did a lot of podcasts for people that everything out of their mouth is basically what you're saying. I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm not naming any names. I'm just saying I feel that might be. Yeah, it sounds.
There's
familiar.
2 gents who worked and currently still work. For the same
one. I don't know actually. I know you work with Phil Rosenthal. That seems to be
that's
like
currently
a big gig for you, right? Yeah. And of course, History Rated R with Craig Smith, available wherever you find podcasts.
That's that. Yeah.
Hey, Craig's got a new book out. What's it called? Let's plug Craig's book.
The Call, I think.
Oh, wait, The Call.
Yeah.
Remember the song that Dennis used to like to play? I Still Believe.
What?
That might have been before
Which
your
one?
time, actually.
I remember
for people like us in places like this.
That's right. Okay.
I still believe.
I was like, wait, what song? Yeah, I do remember that.
The Call. So Craig wrote a book about that song.
About that song. Yeah. Deep dive on.
Yeah, I knew Dominican Saxon would be down with me. Love that song. Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, so largely I didn't nothing really inconvenienced me, and I get tired of people in Los Angeles talking about any kind of natural.
No, I mean, I'm going to talk about it because I
not
had
you
water damage for the first time ever.
The kind of people.
My water damage happened largely because the townhouse I live in, across the way about 6 weeks ago, they had some flooding. So they had to do some work. So they dug up in front of our place to help out them. And then there's all this mud that hadn't settled in yet. So it was like, well, the water had to go somewhere, and apparently it went here. So
fuck you.
Yeah, exactly. So in any case, you know, it is just rain. But at a certain point, you're like, it's still coming down, you know? And my kids didn't know what to think about it. It's like, what do you mean I have to wear boots to school again?
Again,
you know? And I'm like, Aren't kids supposed to like jumping in puddles, or is it just
Yeah.
because my kids aren't Peppa Pig and her brother George that I just I'm disappointed that they're not jumping in puddles all the time?
I will say walking the dog in the rain is a fucking huge inconvenience, and I hate it.
Oh yeah, I would imagine. So did you think about saying to Chuck, like, can you just go walk yourself, bro?
You gotta hold it. No, he just had to hold it for days.
He was just like, we really gotta go, and
He's
you're
like,
like, no.
It's too bad.
You could have pointed at the toilet and been like, come on.
Teach yourself. Yeah.
I've seen a YouTube video of a cat that figured out how to do that. Like, you're trying to tell me that cat's smarter than you?
You're a German Shepherd. Are you smart? You should be able
Yeah.
to figure out how to do these things. Cops do stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. It was it's it was like the joy of my kids going back to school was it was such a great feeling. January 9th, because they went until December 23rd, the last time we did a show. And then it was like, well, you got 2 weeks off, but boy, it's like pretty much everybody went back to work while the kids were still home. And I was like, I told my wife, I'm like, I could probably get a day of that, but I'm not going to get anything packed up for the house. So we shipped them down to my in-laws for the weekend. And, they probably enjoyed that more than our trip to Orlando, where they got to go to Disney, the Magic Kingdom,
Yes.
and Epcot, just spending 3 days, because here's the difference. 3 days with Popo and Gung is what we call their grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
3 days with them, better than Disneyland, because who's not there? Mom and dad. So I get it. I've been a kid. I remember, so I'm sure that it seemed like fun, but I was I spent about 5 days in Florida when I was down there, and a couple of Disney days, and I live somewhere warm, as Will and Jeff. Obviously, it's warm in Southern California, but then it's like, oh, this is why all the old people come to Florida. It was like 86 degrees on January 1st. Like the day we flew out, I like had the kids all dressed up for the airplane, because it gets cold in the recycled air, and I'm just like, no, it's too hot. They can't be dressed like this during the first part of the day, So it's I mean, I get it, but I don't know. I think that it's a little overrated in a few ways. I went into the Publix supermarket, and I was looking at these prices, and I'm like, I thought California was supposed to be expensive. Why is everything so goddamn expensive? And is it because I'm in Orlando? I wasn't even in Orlando. I was in Kissimmee. Kissimmee. Nothing funny about that word. And they tell me they tell me that the name of that town is Kissimmee, and I'm like, but that's not funny. Why would you call it Kissimmee when you can say Kissimmee? It's like even my 7-year-old understood that was a joke. And I won't regale everyone with tales of my family vacation, but we met up with my Uncle Robert, my Aunt Gail. They used to live in Jersey, but of course they live in Florida now. And my Uncle Robert was always the guy.
Jersey go when they retire?
Is where everyone from the Northeast goes. And it's like from the Midwest, some of them retire to Arizona. I've found that's sort of the difference.
Scottsdale.
And I think some of it has to do with what baseball teams have spring training in each location.
Okay.
It's like, well, the Cubs and the Brewers and the White Sox, those are in Arizona. So let's go ahead and retire to Arizona. And then, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets, they're all in Florida. So let's go ahead and retire down there. In any case, my Uncle Robert was always like it was like the guy that, like, at every party, he would just be telling jokes, and he'd be there to make you laugh. And every once in a while, I'd lean in and it's like, don't tell Aunt Gail I told you this one. And he'll tell you the funny joke that was like, mildly inappropriate. He's the guy I used to talk about. We would talk about like Howard Stern, like what we'd heard on it. And we're just waiting, in line and going around with him. And Felix is just rattling off joke after joke that he knows. He just knows these jokes from joke books. He heard them. A couple of them are originals. And I mean, he's easily got a tight 5-minute set that I actually think he could feature at the Comedy Store if that's possible. But anyway, so my kid's just rattling off all these jokes. I'm like, this motherfucker's funnier than I am. I mean, easily. And my Uncle Robert's just so impressed. And I'm just like, it was almost like it couldn't have gone better if I was feeding him jokes. And I was like, tell him this one, And so I'm just counting the days. It was like, when does he start doing the Bladtcast? When does this turn into the Felix Bladtcast? You know, because I think that would be more entertaining anyway, if I had to guess. But I don't know. Anyway, so it was good to get away for a little bit, but kind of not in the way where you're like, yeah, well, you know, we have to move, and it's like just added pressure this time. The painters wanted to paint our new house while we were away, and I was like, I really don't want that, because then we had to like give keys to the new painters. There's nothing in there, but it's just like there's just strangers can go into your house when you're, you know, what, I don't know, 2,500 miles away. Dealt with it, whatever. I'll get over it one day. But Ghost 83, 86 is the last time he went to Disney World was 1989. It seems like the 80s was a good time for Ghost 83, 86. Inland Empire since 86, 89 was the last time we went to Disney World. And Ghost 83, 86, you're going to agree with me that the best era for Marvel Comics pretty much ends in like maybe 1992. You know, it's like the golden era of, you know, you got your Hobgoblin, you got you know, all the best X-Men stories that got adapted, and it just kind of peters off after that. You know,
80s.
I don't know about DC. Will, is that the golden age for DC as well?
I mean, there's a technical golden age, you know, that we refer to.
Your personal preference age.
I mean, I would say the 90s just because that's what I grew up reading.
Sure, that's fair.
That's the substantial ground for in which Wally West was the Flash.
Did they do the same stuff as Marvel, where it's like, this is the hologram cover and it's pre-bagged with a card, and it's like all the gimmicks to get you to buy multiple? They must have done the same thing, right?
Absolutely. The Death of Superman, remember that? Like the fact that comic was like worthless because there was so many like bagged copies and hologram shit, and like stores just had so much extra that it was like, cool, this is this is worth.
You can get, I mean, I believe still the best selling comic of all time is X-Men #1, the Chris Claremont, Jim Lee X-Men #1, and it's $1 cover price. I believe you could buy it for $2 today. I'm almost positive you could get it. You know, if you have the bag with all the covers, you know, then you could probably, you know, get like $10. You know, but it was you know, they just did it, you know, just wanted that just a little bit of that extra cash, except you started to feel like, oh, maybe they're like stealing up these books because they're not very good.
Yeah.
You know, like, don't read them, just put them on a shelf.
That's it. My brother was always that guy. He was like, if you take it out of the bag, it's not gonna be worth anything anymore. So like I would have all these comics that I was scared to read because he had put the fear of God in me that like you have to leave everything in the package. And then at some point I was just like, fuck this. I can't. I want to look at the stupid pages.
Yeah, I mean, I was already a little bit disenfranchised by that point when the big Executioner song was the crossover, and I was like, I'm gonna see if this is any good. I'm gonna read this. You know, it's like I can look at this cover with Wolverine and Cable, or I could read it and see what they do when they're together. The answer: Deadpool 3 is probably going to be better than Wolverine and Cable finally getting together. Just guessing. You know?
One of my goals in life is to become so rich that I can buy a decently well-graded copy of Action Comics #1, crack it open out of the thing, and read it.
Yeah. Oh,
I want to smell those.
I'm sorry. Pages. Did you say and eat it?
Oh yeah, crack it open and eat it. You know what I'm talking about.
Smother it in jelly. Maybe a little popsicle juice.
Just that way, it's a part of me forever.
Are you guys familiar with the Angry Girlfriend variant of Amazing Spider-Man #14?
No.
I just read something about this. I had read about it years ago. I hadn't thought about it in a while, but this is reasonably contemporary. I don't know why it came up not too long ago.
Is that like the Angry Girlfriend variant of Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde?
What is the angry variant?
I'm honestly, I don't remember which album it is, but there's a Bob Dylan album where he had his at the time girlfriend like on like pictures, because there's kind of inside the gatefold there's like a little collage, and then she was like no, and they broke up. So then there's a different version where she's been removed from all that, and there's like a story going around about whether she asked to have it removed or if he just removed her from it just to like erase her from it.
Yeah. Yeah, also known as the C word variant. But so I'm showing our visual audience. This is just one side, and there is another side which I'll show. So this is Amazing Spider-Man actually I think it's 44. No, it's 14. And I think that
So it's
this is the
old.
first this is the yeah, so this is amazing. This is just Amazing Spider-Man 14, the first appearance of the Green Goblin. And somebody, and I guess this copy made the rounds for a while. And if you can look, and it's important for this side, the front of it, it is graded. It has a CGC grade of 1.8, which means probably that the pages inside aren't ripped and, there's like something to it. But it says, Chance, go to hell. And then also it says, turn over. So, obviously, Chance, well,
There was
he
a note
took
on
one
the
of
back.
himself, and it didn't pay off.
What did it say on the back? Did she write a
Well,
note?
all right. Well, Sterling.
She said, "Turn it over." I want you to turn it over.
I know I'm going to turn it over.
We want to see the dick pic.
Show the gross side of your face.
Yeah, let's
Just
see the
like
gross half of your face.
Every time Spider-Man is in that pose where his legs are spread as he's jumping, there's just dangling balls drawn in.
I love that. Like, it looked at least that I probably would have been graded much, much higher, but of course it gets docked for all the Sharpie on it.
Wrote in black marker all over it. Okay. So, and it says, in no way am I trying to be noble. I'm not quite sure what it says there, or anything. And it just says, I never thought I'd be able to destroy something that meant so much to me. As far as I'm concerned, you're dead.
And then did he respond with a different copy where it was YOU_RE and then a little asterisk?
Yeah. And that might have been why she was the angry girlfriend. So apparently this copy made the rounds for a while and people knew about it. Dealers would see it. And, there is some value to it because, it's the first appearance of the Green Goblin. And it's like, if you can get this at a 1.8, I mean, the fact that somebody got it graded and slabbed, which that's the technical term for the plastic, case around it, is crazy. But I have to say that if an ex-girlfriend had been so mad at me, there's a few comics she could have done that with my, let's see, probably Days of Future Past, Uncanny X-Men 141, 142. She could have written hate across both parts of the 2-part issue. Or if she really wanted to get me, she would have written 8 parts, an 8-part note on all 8 parts of the Dark Phoenix saga. That would have gotten my attention and made me realize, oh, perhaps I didn't treat this young lady the way that I should have. Jeff, have you ever been so mad at someone that you would do something the equivalent of this? And I'm going to Jeff before Will for no reason. I'm just, just extending the conversation.
I don't think I've defaced anyone's property like that. So I can't think of a situation similar. No.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can imagine someone doing this to me, but I can't imagine being in a situation. And I don't know. Look, this guy probably cheated on her. And then it's like, all right, apparently he literally fucked around and found out, and let me give credit to at Aaron Myers on Twitter is who brought this to my attention, because I do hate when people, use social media and they don't give credit to the person. And I don't even think I follow Aaron Myers. I think just somebody commented on it and I was like, oh my God, the angry girlfriend variant. I hadn't thought about it in a while.
I see that it's called the angry girlfriend variant.
Yeah, no, it's known as that.
If there was multiple copies of it, but they're so rare. She should have done.
And Ghost says, I have been I assume a fan of Ghost Rider since 1995. My Ghost Rider growing up was Danny Ketch, the 90s Ghost Rider. That might have been a comment to something else in the show. If Ghost talks, I listen. Ghost is a great friend of our Marvel shows, Marvel Movie Talk, returning soon on Thursdays here on the Bladtcast YouTube channel. He has lost favor of a few of my co-hosts and guests over the years. At a certain point, he decided that Zia was worthless trash, which I decided 30 seconds after talking to her for the first time. But it took him a little while to realize. I think there was an opinion that he disagreed. And our friend Jeff Williams doesn't like water dragons, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong. And Ghost, I'm Team Ghost 8386 all the way. I'm with you. They're basically dead to me, but I still do shows with them. But I want Ghost to stay on my side. So, but I think Ghost still likes me. Ghost, don't write all over my. I don't have Amazing Spider-Man 14. I do have a very beaten up copy of Amazing Spider-Man 121. The spoiler alert: Death of Gwen Stacy. It's a spoiler alert from 51 years ago. No, it's 50 years. No, it's this year. It's 50 years this year because they're going to do variants to commemorate it. And people are starting to ask, like, should you really be commemorating 50 years since the death of Gwen Stacy? Especially since he eventually brought back clones, and then I think some version of her is around now. But
how much do you think the Captain America Winter Soldier popsicle variant would be worth?
But the question really is, would it be delicious?
Yes, it was delicious.
It was the Winter Soldier. I forgot that's what happened. It was a trade paperback. So honestly, the value was, that was back when Jeff was like, I'm going to borrow some comics and eat a very melty snack.
Well, the best part, it was like a bomb pop or firecracker or whatever. So it was red, white, and blue. So I was just being patriotic.
It was on brand. Yeah, it wasn't like you doused yourself in honey and then you were like, and now I'm going to read Daredevil 227. But in any case, so I don't know. I think it's fun to remember. Do you think that there's ever been a situation where you could have seen someone creating a angry girlfriend variant of something that you owned? And I'll extend that question to anyone in the chat or listening to the audio version after the fact. You can tweet us at Bladtcast or me at Christian DMZ.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think I've made it apparent that like I value my comic books more than the person I've been with. Well,
right. Well, I mean, there's one, but at the time you didn't.
No, what I'm realizing is there was somebody that I broke up with who responded in a very listen, hurting someone is not fun, but this person responded in a very what felt like a childish way. So like everything I bought them was immediately like on the street in front of their apartment with like a note, whatever, like everything in a bag, like
including the twin kittens you got them. They were
like, both cats, dad,
drowned in the LA River.
Yeah, just take a video of it. You don't fuck with cats, is what I said, and then we caught her. So not quite that extreme, but I remember being like, "This, I'm sorry I hurt you, but this feels a little dramatic.
This is a little overreaction." And I'm just going to ask a simple question. I believe I've met the lady in question.
I believe you have.
I believe she was at a Halloween party.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And no further questions. All smoke weed together?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I remember freaking out that night. I was like, I'm too high. Jeff's like, just relax, enjoy it. I'm like, I can't remember anything we're talking about 30 seconds after we talk about it.
Neither can Dominicus Saxon, before we wind things up here, my first wife did not remember that you were married more than once. My first wife was so glad to be rid of me, she even paid my court costs for the divorce.
That's nice.
But I've never had any exes ruin my stuff. That's just like a cost of doing business. And Dominicus also said the water dragon in Shang-Chi is an authentic Oriental, I believe, Asian dragon from their myths, but I still love Ghost and Jeff and can't remember which one said what. That's what they fought about. I love them both. That's where we're at. Jeff seems to have a point.
I thought of one thing. It was nobody defaced my stuff, but the person who I was entangled with when I first met you guys when we were working on Dennis's show did punch me in the head because she wanted to go through my phone, and I was like, no. But we were never even really officially together. She was just
the girl that you showed up at my birthday party with the broken arm. That there
different
was nothing.
Person.
Oh, okay.
PJ.
That's
Was it PJ?
that's a different broad who fell down the stairs.
Was it PJ?
No, not PJ. No, it was Charlene.
Oh,
I don't remember.
She was
I'm
my
having a hard
roommate.
time.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do we think that a certain person that Bujensky used to date? What would she just? She probably destroyed a lot of his things.
Oh, I'm sure.
Honestly, I think she would have let him destroy all of her things, and just remembering some notes that she left around.
You one in the bathroom.
There's that one. Yep.
What?
There's that one.
What is this?
Yeah. Well, it's gonna have to be a story for another time because we're out of time here on the Bladtcast. As always, don't look for Jeff DeRay. He doesn't want to be found, but you can find him here on the Bladtcast. Will Starling at Will Starling _ History Rated R, wherever podcasts are found. And then also, do we know anything about the book? Can you give us a title? Can you give us a hint? Anything, or is it all?
I'm going to start. Yeah, I'm going to be starting to post things about it on social media here soon. I've got my cover final. I'm just waiting for some materials, so I can kind of roll it out.
All right.
There's going to be a teaser trailer for the trailer.
Rhymes with 9 coughs.
And we're going to end on the question that Dominicus Saxon
Took me a minute.
Which head
what?
got punched? Which head got punched?
The top.
Everybody in the live chat, don't go anywhere. But for our audio listeners, that's all the time we have for now. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. Subscribe to the Bladtcast YouTube channel, BLADTCAST. I will see you next time on the Bladtcast. Welcome to the Bladtcast. Very exciting to be assembled again. It is always so much work from one episode to the next to get Will Starling and Jeff DeRay back together with me, your host, Christian Blatt. Very excited. In a previous episode, we were talking about our friend Liev. And he did have an ex. He's a very happily married man now. Delightful girl, his wife. Will and I met her before I had to go to the emergency room at what was that called? Boots on the Ground?
Huh?
What was the name of that cowboy concert we went to? I can't even remember.
Oh, Boots in the Park.
Boots in the Park. Boots in the Park.
Yeah,
that's it.
Boots on the ground.
No, boots in the
McGraw,
park.
Salute
My face
to military.
Yeah, my face on the ground. That's actually what that night was called.
That's
but before that, there was a
line dance.
Yeah, a little bit. It was an achy breaky evening, which is a very contemporary country reference, I think. So before that, there was a different girl, and were we in his house? Yeah, maybe you were watching his dog because we both saw the same notes in his house from his then girlfriend, now ex, who still looks at my Instagram stories a lot.
What?
I'm not friends with her, but I see her show up. And Will, you matched with her on a dating app, didn't you? Back when you were single, man.
I didn't match, but I saw her profile and I sent you a screenshot of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew. Why would I match? What? That's
no. I put you. Look,
do I
don't
like?
Know. I don't know.
Being
I don't know what you
tortured?
filled it out. I don't know what you filled out.
Open to anything.
Look, maybe you spelled a word wrong, and a common interest came up.
Yeah.
And
maybe
there were just
I like people who post racist memes. I don't know. Maybe that's my thing.
My turn-ons are domestic violence and.
I wish that wasn't true. That's not casting any aspersions on our Peliev. That is actually not what we're saying.
This person
we're
was
not
torturous.
saying that. Yeah. No. Look, every once in a while you meet somebody. Even I. There's a girl who wanted me to hit her, and I was like, why?
During sex?
Yeah, but then
I understand rough sex, and if it's a consensual thing, I'm like, people can do what they want to do. But if it's just like, hey, I need you to take out some rage on me, hit me.
Because it's like, oh, rough sex is one thing.
Sure.
But then there's like the what if you broke that ashtray over my head? I'm like, what? No.
You broke an ashtray over her head?
This is all hearsay. Let's just
this is all hearsay, but you heard it.
In any case, we just wanted to pull on that thread, and that's a fun walk down memory lane. And
Question:
yes,
has anybody's like eccentricities during coitus ever annoyed you? Like to the point where you're like, I'm not sure about this.
yeah, there was. It's funny because like if you watch porn, which I occasionally have in my life, not in a long time, not in a very, very long time. Especially now that it's so easy and you can find it everywhere.
Not in the last hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Not in the last hour.
You don't know that.
It's true. You don't know. You don't know what's up here.
Yeah.
But
I saw your tabs on the girlfriend variant, the angry girlfriend variant.
You mean in a previous episode, weeks ago or months ago? I'm not even sure.
Whenever you posted that episode.
Yeah. In any case, dirty talk is you can get into it like in porn, especially if people enjoy you can like listen to porn, I guess, if you want to switch screens and look at a picture of somebody else. Again, this is not somebody that I know. This is just things that you assume happen. But then like dirty talk in real life, like it's like in a movie. Fuck that pussy. Oh, it sounds hot. If you're actually saying it to me, can you? I mean, once, sure. But it's like we're a few minutes in and I'm like, look, I'm trying to do something here. Obviously, you realize I'm working. I'm working very hard. This is a lot of work for me. All right. And then also, I had to stop seeing a girl just because her pussy was so noisy when we'd fuck. But Jeff, did you ever have something that is an eccentricity during coitus, as you put so eloquently?
Yes,
Yes. Tell me more.
Well, the one that immediately jumps mind, the one that basically made me think to bring this up in the first place was this girl that I dated for a little bit, where it was anytime we had sex, she was so fucking loud, just like yelling and all this stuff. And it's like, on the one hand, it's like, well, good job, me. But on the other hand, it was like, shush. She just like wanted to put the pillow over her head, like, quiet. Because it was like, it was a problem, right? There was a time when we were in her apartment where she had left the window open and somebody literally from God knows how far or close could hear them scream, shut the fuck up. And there's times when we were at my house. This was also when I was living in Glendale, when I lived in this tiny little room that was barely a closet. And so it's like, and my room was adjacent to basically the living room. So it was like, yeah, everybody in this house hears you. So if you can just shush, that would be great. But yeah, every time it was just like, oh my God, it drove me crazy. I was just like, just be quiet. Just shush. Turn you over, face into the pillow. Quiet.
Our last year of high school, I'll try to, it's going to be hard to keep too vague. I had a friend move in with me. He had a bad situation at home, and my mom just wanted to make sure he could graduate high school without any problems. And so he moved into my brother's old room and he lived with us. And we were dating two girls who were really good friends. We the four of us would hang out a lot. But when it was just the two of them in my brother's old room, and if my parents, and especially if my family was out, you come in there and it was just like, I don't think he's possibly that good. Like, just lovely girl. I still know her. I was just like, there's no way that she's getting that level of pleasure. And it was just like, it was like my then girlfriend and I was like, we would just go out because we're just like, we would leave. It was just like, I can't listen to this. It's like, it's disturbing. And I know he doesn't watch. So, but if you see it, you know what I'm talking about. If he were to see this, he would probably laugh right now. I might even text him and just be like, hey, but
I feel like people do it as a way to as a display to be like trying to convince the other person that like everything is great. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, like this will really make it better because they'll think that they're doing really well, and I want them
Yeah.
to feel like encouraged. Maybe it's just like an encouragement. Like instead of just making all that noise, you could be like, "You got this. Just keep going. Yeah, just keep. This is good.
Yeah.
This is
The,
fine."
the way that Will used to talk to strippers, you know, and you'd be
Yeah.
like, no, I think you're very smart. And
I'm
I
really
really
proud
think you
of
should
you.
go back to school. You know?
Yeah.
I
I had a
mean,
different time at a strip club recently, but that's a different story.
Well, yeah. Well, there's a whole story that I want to get to of yours. I'm glad that
tied to that,
I'm glad this came up because this is on brand. But
Yes.
what were you going to say, Jeff?
I was just gonna say, I felt like the few times that I've had it, because I think, first of all, I'm just very much like can we just be quiet so that this can be like we don't need it to advertise what we're doing for other people. I think for some girls at least, and at least this was my interpretation of it, it was like the freedom to be that loud was what was important to them, right? Like it felt like a releasing of the inhibitions to kind of just be like, I'm fucking and everyone can hear, versus like other times where it's like, no, you had to be quiet. So my guess is like, depending on their background, if it was very like restrictive growing up where it's like, no, we can't hear any of that kind of business, that might be like a them, or like they've just kind of ventured out on their own. Because this is also when I was in my 20s, so it's a lot more people that are more recently freed from living with their roommates or parents or whatever. But yeah, it can definitely feel very performative, and it's definitely just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's like there's the liberation of being able to do it because like you're an adult and you know you can let the headboard slam into the wall and you know all that stuff. But you know, it makes you think back of like, oh yeah, but what about you know being downstairs in the living room and having to be quiet because you don't want her parents to wake up, you know, when you're, of course, age appropriate dating someone that's also your age. That's, I think, important to the story when you tell that story in 2023 versus if I had told the story in 2013. But what about you, William? Have there ever been, it doesn't have to literally be, you know, in the throes of passion, but are there bedroom antics where you're just like, oh man, I can't spend any more time with this specific thing, you know, that they do, that they request, that they leave behind on the bed sheets when they're done, you know, all sorts of things.
I mean, not really. I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess someone could be too loud, but sometimes, but if that's the right mood, like I'm gonna be the same.
But
You know, like if
most people would be in that mood together. And
Yeah.
Jeff, it sounds like Jeff is just like not. I mean, you were talking about putting a pillow over her face. And I mean, I'm thinking like, you know, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You know, just like, I'm not gonna take this pillow off of your face.
It's just like, no, this is better for both of us. I can't see you like this.
Well, Dominica Saxon has something that's just cuter. One girl had a nose whistle and I couldn't stop laughing. Yeah, that sounds like a higher up version of what my problem was. What were you going to say, Jeff?
The funniest one that I had was a girl who I hooked up with who, when like she was getting to her climax, would literally go, I'm owing. She would say owing. And I was like, okay.
It's like from Office Space, like from O face, O.
Oh.
Second episode title. I'm owing. Gotcha. Okay. Oh boy. Reminds me of a second super bad reference when the girl asks if he wants a blow jay. Yeah, just like, what?
A blow jay.
But yeah, look, and look, again, I'm not even shaming the kink of people who like to make a lot of noise or dirty talk, but I think it comes from the same place of like you're kind of doing it because you feel like the other person needs it, and it's like I don't need that, and in fact, it's really distracting. You know, it's like you know, we'd definitely be enjoying ourselves if there weren't there weren't so much noise. It's it'd be fine if a Sepultura concert hadn't broken out in my bedroom. Anyway. And I don't know what Ghost is saying, LOL, too. I'm going to just go ahead and leave it on the screen, probably because it's just true for everything that we might talk about. Speaking of bedroom antics, Will,
Yes.
I know that you took a very interesting trip recently with your spouse, the lovely Casey, who people may not remember. I did actually meet, and
You did, yeah.
and then I saw her again at a Halloween party. So I met her twice now. It takes away the whole bit, but I can put forth in 2023 that I believe that you've hired an actress to make appearances occasionally when
Definitely.
you need to have someone. It's like that movie Dave, where Kevin Kline
I was
looked
just
like
thinking
the
about that
president.
movie the other day. I don't
It's a
know
great
why.
movie, isn't it?
Yeah, what a great movie.
It's a
I don't know why I was
fantastic
thinking about it.
movie.
Just the fact that like his whole thing was like, how come you guys can't get along? If you want this, would you give this and do this? And they're like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And he's like,
Yeah, I guess.
we took care of it.
Oh, I guess we should get along.
Whoa, Dave.
But anyway, tell us all in Bladtcast Nation how it came up that you took a trip somewhere and where you went and what you did.
I went to Las Vegas.
Nevada.
Not Nevada. Yeah, not Las Vegas, Florida. Next to Hollywood, Florida. To go to the Adult Video News, both convention and awards. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with what the Adult Video News is AVN, it's the biggest porn convention in the world.
Yeah, it's a lot more A than N.
Well, yeah, I think that still exists as some kind of publication, but it used to be like a legitimate thing in the industry. But obviously, because of the internet, nothing is legitimate in the industry anymore, it seems like. So, yes, it's for something that I'm writing.
Okay.
So it's fun to say it's for
research.
Yeah,
I love that.
but nothing feels better than writing off the AVN awards on my taxes. The business is expensive. Yeah, it was a good time. We went just to the convention for one day. Casey went with me, so it was a couple's trip. We got to go. Went together. She's very supportive, and it's fascinating. It's a very interesting place. A lot more tame. The convention, at least, a lot more tame than I thought it was going to be. I don't know what I expected. I think I have a lot of stereotypical things in my mind that I need to walk myself back from any biases I have about people and about the industry. But yeah, it has a Comic-Con feel, feels just like any other convention, but it's mostly for porn. So
right. I mean, and let's just say that the Venn diagram of people attending Comic-Con and attending AVN, there's some overlap. There's definitely some overlap.
Yeah. And the people I saw in attendance, like, again, another probably like a stereotype of me just assuming it's all like, sweaty, smelly dudes. The most eclectic group of attendees that I didn't anticipate seeing at AVN. All kinds of people you could think about.
I attended the I think a couple of times. What I don't know what the sex convention in LA is, but at the convention center.
I think just
Adult
Con.
Yeah. We filmed something there for Dennis's TV show, so it was probably 2004. But then I think a few of us from the radio show, I think, went, because I remember being there with Ken and Bojensky. Go figure. A different trip. And it does have a very Comic-Con feel. The difference now is that Ron Jeremy wouldn't be there, nor should he be, apparently, from what we know about him. But he certainly was there when I went, and didn't say no to being filmed on camera speaking to our host, past Bladtcast guest Bob Oshak, who people might remember from Dennis's TV show. And it was cool to go to. I mean, it was like, it was interesting. And boy, I mean, the amount of free lube I went home with.
I didn't get any freebies.
How did you get no free lube?
I got no free lube. I got no free like condoms or anything. There was My Free Cams is like the big Cammy Egan coming into this at the best
Yeah,
possible time.
let
Coming
Cammy
in
Egan.
at the right time.
I'm so glad that you're here now and not 10 minutes ago. Cammy Egan, did you just say my three cams?
My free cams is
Oh.
that's like who sponsored the convention, the awards, the major sponsor, and they had little freebies like a pen and a bag, and they also had like a little tiny vibrator for your clitoris that you could just
Wait, for my clitoris?
anybody's clitoris.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
If you have a clitoris,
And just
even if you
thinking
don't, you
outside of
could
the
have
box,
taken it.
literally pun intended.
Yeah.
Might I be able to use that somewhere else on the
You can
anatomy
put it
as
anywhere.
a gentleman?
it's small, compact, and with that free lube, it could slide any which way you want it to.
Look,
Um,
I might need to take a temperature. That's all I'm saying. My own. Dominica Saxon, perfect timing, Cammy. Yeah, we're talking about the porn convention. She's like, "Oh, are they talking about the new Ant-Man trailer?" Actually, no, we were talking
not
about
today.
Not today.
You'll do like 3-4 hours on Avengers Endgame. Why can't we do 3-4 hours about the porn world? Let's just do that.
We should. And by the way, we have. But all right, so you didn't get the freebies you want. So I'm interested in both aspects of it. I've never attended the awards,
Yeah.
but boy, have I seen clips from it.
Yeah.
You know, the categories. Do you remember any categories from the awards?
I mean,
Because I can look some up if you can, but
there's so many.
Yeah.
There's like the handful that they treat as like their Oscars ones where they do the envelopes and people come up and give sometimes 2 handfuls.
Thank you, Jeff.
People come up and
sometimes they ask for a footful.
That's right. And they give their speeches and stuff. And then like at the end, there was like 2 rounds of like blowing through categories. Of like the announcer just announcing the category and the winners like showing a picture, and there had to have been like 50. I was like, oh my god! And they get
their
so
face to their dick,
so niche and specific. I don't think they were allowed. Did they? Yeah, I guess they did. They showed clips. It's like, best performance, and then they cut to like, yeah.
Do they play you off like at the Academy Awards, and what music do they use? You know,
they don't play anybody off.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
they
everybody's speech was very
they jerk
short.
you off to get you off stage.
That's right. Everybody's speech was very short. They're adult performers, but they're not necessarily like actors. You know, like.
Oh, so you don't mean
worry.
that they studied, the same school of thought as Sir Laurence Olivier?
I mean, it's possible that some of them out
Sir Remington Steele.
But it's clear that they're like, this is a different kind of spotlight. Like it's so funny because it's like, not funny, but interesting that like, these people can have sex on camera and find the comfort to like do that as a job, which is great. God bless, we need sex work. But then they got lights on them in front of a crowd of a bunch of people to give like a thank you speech. And they're like, this is really great. I'm so happy. Thank you guys. Love you. And then they just leave. Like everybody's speech was so short. Nobody was like, and they're also, I don't know, like nobody's up there for the reason of being like, and by the way, like when a cow gets ripped away from its mother's teat, I know we fuck for a living, but sometimes baby cows need their mom. There was none of that.
I just want to thank my dad for coming into my room every night until I was 12.
Oh God!
Why'd you have to make it that dark?
No, that's.
How about this? How about I'd like to thank my dad for leaving when I was a child and having me have a void to be filled.
Wait,
by the way, Kemi Egan says, "Don't you mean and the wieners are?" Thank you. We appreciate that. Kemi Egan came to play, and absolutely true. By the way, big shock, Jeff. Dominica Saxon liked where you took this. But what I like is the acceptance speeches where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I won best gangbang. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do it without all 20 of the guys who fucked me on camera. And again, I mean, I'm in no way passing judgment. No, I know I'm in no way passing judgment on any of the participants, on anybody who downloaded the clip, anybody who subscribed so they could watch the full uncensored version of the clip. Mm-hmm. All of that. I got no problem with any of it. It just, the speeches are always funny to me.
Well,
Yeah.
so here's my thing. The Golden Globes, the Oscars, they're all a giant circle jerk. With the AVN, you've already done the circle jerk. So, like, what are you
It's true.
supposed to do for an award show?
They just go home.
So a film.
We're
that-
tired. We've been fucking for hours already. Like, this is not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like, hey, it's not Boogie Nights where it's like, oh, you need me to come again so I can get the cum shot.
The thing
That's not
is
real porn.
most all of these people have pretty good senses of humor about this shit. It's
Sure.
watching that award show. Some people like got teary eyed in their speeches, obviously, because listen, it's work. They're proud of their work. God, that's good.
Yeah, of course.
But no one's really. Everyone kind of knows the world that they're living in, and there's also doing the winks and nods to the camera about this stuff. And so, like, I think there's this assumption that people who work in porn, especially the AVN awards, like, do they really take this seriously? It's like yes and no, because obviously, like, listen, you work hard and you get an award. That's nice. But at the same time, I don't think they're going home being like, fuck yeah, I'm like changing the world with my like best anal scene. I don't think that really goes through anybody's minds. Maybe like somebody like Rocco Siffredi, who's like weirdly like the auteur of the porn world.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I in early through scrolling through some of the nominees for the AVN Awards, less about the category, but one of the films that was nominated in the Best Actor featurette, and let's be honest, we don't need feature length porn at this point. 15 minutes seems
Speak
too
for
long.
yourself. I need a Scorsese length 3.5 hour. Don't go to the bathroom.
You need the Zack Snyder cut of porn. Yeah.
The Zack Snyder uncut.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh. You were all gonna say
Bam!
Boom! So
I'm
you in particular will appreciate the title. A gentleman named Adam Christopher was nominated for his work in a featurette called Jeff Rassick Porn, a Nerds of Porn theme park. Theme park. But Jeff Rassick Porn.
Jeff Rassick.
Can you change your screen name to right here on the show? To
Jeff Rassick.
Let me see about that.
Let me see if I can.
There was
do that.
One of the movies that was nominated, or I don't know how long it is, but you'd be surprised. I thought that. I mean, I think that way as a consumer. And by the way, anybody who's like, I don't watch porn, it's deplorable. Everyone's a liar. That's the thing. Everybody derives pleasure from it, and yet then they think all these people are like the fringes of society and they deserve to be treated like shit, which is horrible.
No, which is absolutely not true. I mean, when you think about like the amount, it's almost like how much how much joy have porn actors and actresses brought to us as a society?
Infinity joy, let's be real.
And some of us, it's only in like 28-second bursts, but still
I don't need the feature. But people take a lot. There are people who fucking watch the 90-minute things. You know what I mean? They're like, I want a story. I want there to be a blend of these things. I'm like, okay.
I got a whole box of tissues to get through. Come on.
One of the most nominated projects, which I know you're absolutely going to look up after this, was like Spider-Man, Deadpool, like porn movie. Not a gay porn, I don't think, but there was like Spider-Gwen is in it, and they're like, I don't know if they're friends. Maybe it's just queer porn in general. Maybe because Deadpool's like, isn't he kind of like?
Well, it's in canon that Deadpool will regularly flirt with Spider-Man, and spoiler alert, it makes Peter very uncomfortable. And I don't know if he flirts with Miles, which might just be an age thing. I don't know how old Miles is, so maybe that's why he doesn't flirt. He only flirts with Peter.
It was nominated many, many times, so there's something out there for everybody.
So the categories include things like best all-female group sex scene, and I would say they're all winners. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be able to pick, but but best anal movie or limited series, and it includes Manual Opens Their Asses 9, Anal Savages 8, Anal Beauty 15. Make sure I click off the explicit box when I.
Are you just reading your web browser history, or?
Yeah, that's
this is what I have you guys on my phone as.
Gotcha.
Aching for anal, anal angels, anal elegance, anal only, come from behind, Gape for days. True anal. Tushy raw. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Dominicus Saxon says, I always watch the credits too. Got to see who held the boom mic. Yeah. But there are so many anal categories, which I think you need to, because there's like best anal sex scene, best anal series or channel, best anal movie or limited series. So there's just the actual scene.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd probably check out the Anal Intern.
Sure.
I mean, at the
Is that the one
Katie's
with
Anal
Robert
Talent.
De Niro?
What was that? What, Jeff? Sorry.
Is that the one with Robert De Niro?
Manual again showing up as a Milfomania 10, Scene 1. Ultimate Fuck Toy, Charlie Summer, Scene 3. This is making it very difficult for people to listen to this episode without their headphones on, basically. It's like in the great scene in Clerks when he's on the phone with the video company and he's just reading off, all of these invented by Kevin Smith porn titles. But I'll always remember Big Black Cocks with Pearly White Cum being one of them. So, some titles just stay with you forever, and Dominicus Saxon says, sure glad I skipped my afternoon nap. But look, I'm giving you some viewing ideas for before your nap. I'm not going to say that I might not scroll through more titles or categories. So you saw the whole, oh boy, did not know what I was going to say. The entire award show. Do you just buy tickets to it? How does it work? Did you get press, or how did this work?
Yeah, I wish. I just bought a ticket to the convention. I bought a VIP ticket for Friday because it included a VIP after party, which took place. I didn't know this until I Googled the strip club. It took place at a new strip club called Peppermint Hippo, and it is in. Did you know this?
Spearmint Rhino.
No, not the Spearmint Rhino. The Peppermint Hippo. It is in the building that used to occupy the Olympic Gardens, which apparently closed in 2016. I didn't know this.
It's true. It did. And the Olympic Gardens was referenced a few times in the early days of this podcast because Penn Jillette very specifically recommended it, I think, on the radio show. And Ken was like, yeah, absolutely. And I did go. I've been to a number of strip clubs in Las Vegas, and the Olympic Garden was probably my favorite. I
went on Ken's recommendation when I was going to Vegas with a friend. I was like, what strip club should we go to? He's like, Olympic Gardens. So I was like, okay. So we went, and that was like 2014, 15. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Peppermint Hippo is where this one took place.
And so what, this is an after party for the awards?
Yeah. I got free. Like a strip club, they always find a way to charge you for something, even if they say they're giving you a deal. So we had our little passes or whatever, and the girl, like, we got, she's a comp on the house or whatever. I was like, yeah, feeling cool. Guys, you guys want a table by the stage? I was like, absolutely. He's like, okay, just wait here. We'll get. So we go to the table. He's like, you want to help me out for the table here? And I was like, what? He's like, you want to help me out for the table? I was like, help you out? He's like, yeah, it's $50. I was like, right. My bad.
Honestly,
I have to help you out. Apparently, this sounds.
I'm sorry. I'm surprised that it's only $50.
Me too. That actually
easily, I thought that could have gone $100
on the low end. Yeah. So there was half of my cash because I only had like $100 in cash. Casey had $100 in cash too. But we spent pretty much all that money. We no private dances. We were there together. But
you made it rain.
Tipping the girls on stage. Yeah. Sometimes you give them a 5. Sometimes give him a couple ones. There was a guy sitting behind us who was clearly like Mr. Moneybags because everyone knew him by name.
Wait,
and
the guy from the Monopoly game? He was there?
It was that. Yeah, and animated. It was like Space Jam. It was weird, like real people and animation at the same time. And the manager like shook his hand, and like girls would come sit next to like opposite him and chat with him for a while. And he had 3 like bundled up stacks of cash. But then at some point, a woman brought 3 more bundled up stacks of cash. I don't know if they were all ones, if they were like an assortment, I'm sure, of monies. But this man went through a lot of cash. Somebody said, are you here for AVN or CES? Because the big tech conference was there at the same time.
Weekend.
And he goes,
that's not by accident, by the way.
No. And he goes, both. which was great. So that's a long way of So I bought tickets to the convention, which included VIP after party, and then they sent me an email saying like, "Oh, tickets are still available for the awards show," because the package for the convention, and the awards show was like, at the time I had to buy all 4 days of the convention and the ticket, and it was going to be like $700. I was like, I'm not doing that. And then they were like, you can buy balcony seats for like $100, and I was like, okay, I'll just watch it from the balcony. That's fine. So
Yeah, it's fine.
we got tickets.
Jacob Lee Downey's in the chat as the YouTube administrator, and he says no fives unless I show it to the girl first. I mean, that's a thing about like tipping in general. It's like, I don't think I've ever left a tip in a tip jar when the cashier is facing the other way.
Yeah,
I'm like,
do.
I need them to see that I'm doing it, because I don't want them
tipper.
to like judge me and like, is this guy gonna fucking tip? I just want to be like, I am holding a dollar. This dollar will now be placed into yonder G-string, or possibly just tip jar at Dunkin' Donuts, depending on where I am. At Dunkin' Donuts, it never goes into the G-string. I just feel like, you gotta have a line somewhere.
I'm amazed at the amount of times we've said the word tip and nobody's rung the bell or anything.
Well, I was just thinking about that time I gave that one stripper more than just the tip.
That's right. You gave her the full
Monty.
Monty.
It's I always forget the episode number that people can hear. It's like 255 or something. I'll tell people in a minute.
It was my second time going to a strip club.
Yeah, I would have stopped after that.
I have not gone back, but I never liked strip clubs in general.
I was close. Bladtcast 155, the All About EO episode. 155. It's got 955 plays on SoundCloud. So Bladtcast 155, All About EO. He will tell you about that tale. Please give it a listen. It's one of the 3 best stories ever told on the Bladtcast.
It's also, I think I was talking to my brother-in-law about it like last year, some point when we were out at one of his like pre-bachelor. So it was like the other groomsmen kind of a thing. And I think they all thought I was full of shit. Like, I think they all thought I was just like lying about the story. And I'm like, okay, you can believe me or no, I don't care.
I never thought for a second that you were lying in your story. I think the first time you ever mentioned it, I was like, what? But then I was like, oh no. Yeah, Dominicus accent, that was a great episode. If we did best ofs and reruns, I think I would trot out Bladtcast 155 every year around this time, the right between Christmas and New Year's. Yeah. Will, attending a porn convention / awards show, I feel like there's a couple of ways that this can go.
Sure.
Do you feel that it heightened any kind of just sexual energy for you personally between you and Casey, or did it have the other effects of where it's like, I mean, I've just been, I've just been staring at anal penetration all day. I just want to go to bed.
But see, that's the thing, is like the convention has rules where they can't show, you're actually not allowed to be nude or topless. The girls are as skimpy as you could possibly get.
Cancel my plans. I'm not going.
Some of them, depending on what they want to wear, but you're not allowed. There's like a code of conduct rules that they had posted all over the place that I took photos of, because I was like, oh, interesting. So like you can't, and like on screens and stuff, they can't just show scenes and stuff. I think at the awards, they
have people doing recreations where they just go like this.
It's just hands on the screen doing that. Do you see? So
you like that?
It's less in your face than you would think, but yeah, there's still a genuine, like, there's an air of sex, because that's what's going on there. And to answer your question, I would say more of the former.
Excited because I can see that for sure. Nice. Even though they didn't give you free lube, I think that probably would have helped. But
we don't need it.
The real question is, did she put on a hockey mask and then have like a bunch of sticks on her back while you dressed up, where covering your face in green, and then having a cool ninja mask on? That's what we need.
Jones and not April O'Neil.
Because her name's Casey.
Oh, I see. I don't know. I didn't think of that.
Ken would have thought that she would have, let's just say, been a bad babysitter because her name is Casey.
Ken would have thought she would have been a murdering mother, but that's just another thing.
Yeah, I tried to be kinder. By the way, special episode coming up.
Are you talking to Ken about it?
Ken and I are going to discuss the Peacock series on Casey Anthony.
Did you watch it?
No, I have to do it for that episode. Part of the reason the episode hasn't happened yet. How many episodes is it, Jeff?
I honestly don't know, because by like the second or third, I was like, this is so fucking boring. Because it's just kind of like the trials happened, the situations happened. It doesn't need to be more than like a 2-part episode of like, this is when everything was crazy, and this is afterwards, the aftermath of what her life is like. But it's a lot of stupid shit, like, oh, now she works with the private investigator who helped investigate her case. And have you ever seen her lie? No, in 10 years, she's never lied. Like, okay, well, that's a lie. I don't.
Yeah. And then what I'm learning from this is that Jeff apparently has a Peacock login. From Jacob Lee Downey, on brand, Casey Bones, and April O'Neil. Again, if you're just listening to the audio, you might not get the brilliance of April space OH space KNEEL. Casey Bones and April O'Neil. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would watch that movie. I'm not going to lie about that. Even a little. I do like that the categories include things like, best art direction, best anthology series or channel, and then best BDSM movie or the mid series, which include titles like Bound to be Wanked, I'll Be Your Latex Slave,
Waiting for Gruffman,
Tiffany Desires of Submission. That doesn't even make sense. Best blowbang scene. All right, again, I'm
what's a blowbang?
Man of the world. I'm no
blowbang is
SpongeBob
when you suck a bunch of dudes' dicks.
Oh,
is that a blowbang?
Like a gangbang, but it's blowjobs. Yeah. Come on, you guys.
Would have thought there would be a blowjob going into sex with like a blowbang.
Yeah.
No,
that makes sense.
So blow a lot of guys. Do you blow them all to completion? This is an important question.
I mean, presumably, but it depends on the guy. They might not all be able to finish.
Yeah. Oh boy, and it's just a bunch of names like Jesse Pony is apparently a nominee in there. Yeah. Best Curve Appeal movie or limited series. And in case you're wondering what Curve Appeal might involve, they include titles such as Amazing Tits 13, Big Ass Attack, Big Booty Room, Big Natural 62, Big Tit Fantastic 5, Booty Bounce, Breast Worship 7, Cake 2, Harumpus Scrumptious 3, and Natural Phenomena. Look, these are all the things that are important. I think this is ground we used to cover when we would visit Coltrane's Corner more regularly. We would, when Mr. Skin would release his Skinatomy Awards, we would possibly take some time to. What is there something funny about Mr. Skin releasing?
It's just inherently it's always been so dumb to me. I'm like, just look at porn. Isn't Mr. Skin like devoted to like finding the nude scenes in movies?
Yeah,
like,
and but they post the scenes, and I think they get around it because it's a subscription site. No, I know, yeah, but here's the thing: it's like, do you want to see porn actresses? Yes, but then if it's like, I would see that. Like there's like the girl who was Supergirl. She was like topless on Homeland, so I can see that maybe someone, not me, would have wanted to see what that looked like. Definitely not me.
Sure.
I've never seen what that looked like. She didn't have brown hair at the time.
But I guarantee you can go to a website and in the search engine you just type Supergirl and I'm sure you'll get a lot more than topless Supergirl.
Now, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And by the way, if you thought Kal-El was crying when he was holding her dead body, you should have seen his face when he found out she had done nude scenes. That did not sit well.
I don't think any of these will ever top the Merkin of Venice.
I think you're right. No, look, Mr. Skin was useful when search engines weren't this good, and
Sure.
internet connections were a little slower, and you would be like, "Oh, I'm going to click on a tiny image there." Yeah, I don't know. So it seems like you had a good time, and you were in Vegas. Did you do anything else, or was it all sex all day?
We did other things because I just want to do the convention for one day, and I said, it was kind of more not low key, but less like intense. We kind of saw everything, chatted with some people, and then after a couple hours, I got lunch, went back, did another loop, and then we left. So, at the same time, my buddy was at CES, so he was in Vegas, so we kind of hung out with him. We went, just kind of walked the strip, checked out some of the casinos and hotels and stuff. We're not gamblers, so we didn't really do any of that. But we stayed at the Excalibur.
I remember being in a casino with you, and I don't think it was like the first time you'd been there. But I do remember, I think this was before you did stand up, before
Probably.
Dennis, when you opened for Dennis.
Or when we saw Chris.
I think I put a $20 bill into like a Ghostbuster slot machine, and you were fascinated that people were willing to part with $20 in that way. It's like it's just an expensive video game. It's like but an expensive video game where you might win some money, but probably not. Probably not.
The slot machines also are like, they're not slot machines anymore. They're all video games. So it's not like you're pulling a lever. And it used to be that there were only so many options on the wheels, so it had to line up in certain ways. But now, since it's digital, I'm like, of course they're fucking you over. There's an infinite amount of combinations that they could give you. And my buddy was like trying to explain how they worked. And I was like, I believe that you believe this, but I guarantee that this actually doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, and then there's also like times of day where the payouts are going to be better. There's times of day where, depending on which casino you're in, you're going to have better odds. But people try to not factor any of that into their decision making.
Right. We stayed at the beautiful Excalibur Hotel and Casino.
Oh, I've stayed there.
That's right. That's the best deal we got.
I stayed there for a bachelor party once. Yeah.
Okay. It's definitely like outdated, and it's the furthest south next to the Tropicana, basically.
Yeah. But, it's only outdated. It only feels so old because they've knocked down most of the older casinos around it.
Right.
I think the Tropicana is still there.
Yeah, that's
nearby.
Legendary. And the Flamingo's old too. But
I took my wife to see Andrew Dice Clay at the Tropicana one year right after Christmas, and I'd never felt more Vegas than in that moment.
Yeah. See, I didn't gamble any money, but I did spend $20 to play a Ninja Turtle arcade game at the Excalibur.
Sweet. Full circle.
And you know what? That was worth it. I was like, I lost that $20. There was no option for me to get that $20 back, and I'm okay about this. The win was getting to play the game.
Last time he went to Vegas was 20 years ago, and it was at the Excalibur. The next time you're in Vegas, Will and everyone else, assuming you drove there or did you fly?
We flew.
Okay. If you're there with a vehicle, or you can take an Uber ride, for non-gamblers, the Pinball Hall of Fame is not just pinball machines. It's also a lot of video games.
Okay.
It's a very easy way to spend a lot less money than you would in a casino. And I think I've sent you pictures. There's a Doctor Who pinball machine that I think goes up to the 7th Doctor. So it's like got those faces right up to Sylvester McCoy. And there's like a Ted Nugent one that not only does it play rock and roll, but it also will tell you whether or not vaccines work. It just depends on what you want to do. I didn't have that joke in my head. I just started talking.
If you win,
so
it talks
that one's for me.
When you win, it talks about the necessary reasons to quell the deer population because there's too many fucking goddamn deers.
I mean, he's probably not wrong about that, and he at least he gives venison to local food shelters. He doesn't waste it. I find Uncle Ted very entertaining for a facet of his existence. There's part of who he is that's great. I interviewed him once on the radio show. I asked for him to come on with me and not just Dennis, and he said yes. So because I wanted to talk to him about the damn Yankees record that came out in 1990. It was I guess it was the 20th anniversary of that. So I know what year it was. Anyway, lots of memories, lots of good times.
Where is the
And
Pinball Hall of Fame?
it's off the strip, but it's not far from like Mandalay Bay. You know,
Okay.
it's like over that way. Yeah, you
We
just
also,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, we also did the big Ferris wheel.
I have never done that.
It's called Happy Half Hour. Not all the rooms are, but some like one or two of them have a bar in it,
Oh yeah.
and it's basically unlimited drinks in 30 minutes. So it's very
Oh,
expensive, but at the
I
same
like those
time,
odds.
I spent $30 on a vodka Red Bull at Caesar's Palace. So how I have $64 for the tickets, and I had 4 drinks. So I think 4 drinks in 30 minutes. It was a great time. And then we went to the AVN Awards.
You
Oh my
basically
God.
are better off just like going and gambling for a little while and drinking as many of the free drinks you can at
I know.
a thing, because you're going to end up spending the same amount
So-
buying a drink
It's
at
true.
any club. It's like,
true.
Yeah.
I'll
All
have
those-
2 beers. That'll be $100.
Jacob also says Happy Half Hour also won an award at the AVNs earlier
Oh,
that day.
yeah.
Very nice, Jacob. I appreciate that. I like when the contributions are funnier than I am. In any case, what I was getting at though is that we're, here in 2023, we are maybe going to have a year-long celebration, but certainly a month-long celebration, celebrating 10 years of the Bladtcast, which
Wow.
honestly I think is crazy. To why I've continued to do it, I don't know. Why I continue to drag you guys into it, and the collective, the two of you guys, but then also the yous guys out in the chat, the y'all out there on the internet that subscribe and listen. I don't know. I just I like to have an outlet,
Yeah.
And I don't know. Mostly it's fun, and I hope people enjoy it. And it's crazy to think about the fact that it was about 10 years ago that I was like, I know everybody likes to go home after work, but what if I made you stay?
What if we stayed?
What if we stayed? And Jeff, we've talked about it many times, when you took over for Liev, you were not immediately aware that part of your job meant staying for a long time and participating in and editing the Bladtcast. That was not in the job description, unless I'm
Honestly,
mistaken.
I didn't really start participating until we left the studio, because usually you guys would be recording and I was having to like cut the promos for the affiliates and stuff. So it's like you guys would be doing that while I was editing in the other room. And like, I think there was a couple occasions where you'd ask me a question, but it was also easy for you guys to kind of be self-contained in that studio because there was a bunch of mics and table space and stuff.
Yeah, I think it was like we'd been doing it for a while, and I was like, "Oh, his name's Jeff." No, we'd been doing it for a while, and then I was like, "Oh, wait, he like knows his shit about all this same nerd stuff." I don't think we need Will anymore. No, that's not what it was. But it was just like, oh, it's a missed opportunity to not have him, be a part of it. That's the real explanation. But yeah, and it's fun to think about that, 520 some odd episodes later, it's like, well, you got to be doing it for a long time if you end up, with that kind of episode count. And, people often tend to be surprised that we've been doing it so long. And when I'm lucky enough to be a guest on other shows once in a while, and when I say what episode number we're at, people are always like, wait, what? Like 520, so yeah, and I wanted to make sure I had it correct. That's why I've been absentmindedly scrolling while also talking to you guys. So we recorded the first episode January 24th 2013, so just a couple weeks away from now will be the actual 10th anniversary. Can't promise anything major on that day, but we'll deliver something on that day. And I've mentioned that I've been fortunate enough I've been on 3 times now on a fairly well-known podcast called Who Are These Podcasts? And I've asked the host of that show, Carl Hamburger, to analyze Bladtcast 1 with me. And we'll pull clips and we'll talk about it. And his text to me was something along the lines of, I'm sure it was great, but we could probably find something to goof on. And I was just like, oh, he has no idea. Like, there's no way. There's literally no way that it's great.
How
I haven't
offensive was
listened
that
in a while.
episode?
Our friend David Hines actually went and listened to like every Bladtcast starting with number 1. He actually didn't
Oh,
have
that's
number
right.
1. He had number 2 onward, so I sent it to him.
Where did
you
you
know.
find him?
He just had them saved because he'd listened before.
Oh,
So
okay.
he re-listened, but he didn't have number 1. So Carl, this is what he said to me when I suggested to him. Even though I'm sure your first episode was close to perfect, there might be something we can goof on. I think that he's being very kind in that text. I'm sure, Will, I'm sure you were great. And Liev definitely delivered with Tebow time, I'm sure, you know.
Mhm.
And I don't even think we called it Coltrane's Corner yet. I think it was Nerd Talk and Guy Talk. Here's the thing about the first episode of the Bladtcast, though. It's 30 minutes. And,
Wow.
Never happened again.
How did
Never
you
happened
manage
again.
that?
The goal was to have it be half an hour because I thought that people didn't want to hear longer than that. And by the way, I was right. They really don't want more than that, but we give it to them anyway. I mean, you guys worked in podcasting a long time. The longer is not always better. You know, you have to be a show that people really like. Joe Rogan wants to talk to somebody for 3.5 hours. People are going to listen to that episode. But you know what? I'm only going to listen to Joe Rogan for 3.5 hours if it's like Dave Chappelle. You know, like I'm not going to just listen to a regular episode and see, oh, it's 3.5 hours. Let me go ahead and check that out. You know.
I mean, I would say from all the podcasts I've edited, it's always so obvious when like the actual natural conversation has ended earlier than they needed it to. And then they're just fishing for like, well, what else can we talk about?
And sometimes you have that spot where you navigate what can we talk about, but then you hit on something and you're like, oh my God, this thing that neither of us knew we were going to talk about today can be great for 20 minutes. And that's when what they should do is have somebody like Jeff come in and take out those those 15 minutes where they had to figure out what they were going to talk about next. And maybe your 3.5 hour podcast should be 2 hours and 40 minutes. I don't know. But Will and I were trading messages about some of the epic run times of the Bladtcast. And you remembered that our Amazing Spider-Man 2 episode at one point did hold the record. Bladtcast 60, which is available as a classic Bladtcast on SoundCloud. That was 2 hours and 15 minutes, but we've gotten so much further than that now, you know. So I believe, and I found out on that day when you and I were texting that the record holder is 2 hours and 56 minutes. I have production recorded by Farad Muhammad, and I think he says 2 hours and 45 minutes. And since that was recorded, we've blown past it. Bladtcast number 335, which was again a Spider-Man episode. It was episode 335 was about Far From Home. And the one thing that I did, which was clever, is that the title of that episode is Far From Short. That was 2 hours and 56 minutes talking about Spider-Man Far From Home, which, by the way, of the 3 Spider-Man movies, the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, it's the least great, I think is fair to say.
Far From Home?
Yeah, I think Homecoming is amazing, but then No Way Home, it's like, well, you got 3 goddamn Spider-Man in it. Like, how's that not?
Wait, what?
Oh, shit, I forgot you hadn't seen it.
Fucking A.
It's still on your DVR.
They all get together?
Yeah.
How crazy
But
is
they
it that
didn't
the
have all
Bladtcast-
3 Aunt Mays, which is what you really wanted.
That's what I wanted, yeah. And all 3 corpses of Uncle Ben. Even though Uncle Ben's not existing in the Tom Holland one.
I think he doesn't exist in the Tom Holland timeline. Because
how
Aunt
crazy
May is his Uncle Ben, yeah.
Think of this, Christian. This is really, you should be proud. The Bladtcast has spanned 2 entire Spider-Man franchises. You went from one ongoing Spider-Man, thinking there was going to be an Amazing Spider-Man 3. I mean, I think the whole world was like, yeah, we'll probably get another one.
We'll get that.
Didn't. And then you got another one, and you've got now 3 movies in that Spider-Man. It's unbelievable. The amount of Spider-Man movies and movies that Spider-Man has been in since you started. I think the Bladtcast is responsible for the amount of Spider-Man.
But on a sad note, the Bladtcast spanned the entirety of Henry Cavill's run as Superman. Because you remember when we started, we were talking about Man of Steel, and you had the the man versus food challenge.
Yeah, Superman versus food challenge.
Superman versus food challenge. This is before your time, Jeff, but I think there's still YouTube video out there.
I think I took it down. Or made it all private. I've made all these things private.
All right, I would like to watch it again if you don't mind, because we talked about this not that long ago. It was a Carl's Jr.
like a marketing tie-in. Yeah,
yeah.
It was like
but Krispy Kreme was the bun, right?
Ken did that for one of them. The challenge was to eat I think just 2 of them, because they were like, one will you're crazy, and one of them was regular, and the other one had Krispy Kreme donuts as the bun.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that.
So I do that now on a regular basis.
If I've learned anything over the last 10 years is to not overpromise big celebrity guests that may or may not be on the show. So not going to promise anything. I do know that Carl and I will analyze Bladtcast 1. I'm depending. I haven't listened to it really ever. But I do know that the file I have is a little corrupted. So it's like the audio is unfortunately a little choppy. So I may not post it. But if a lot of people ask because they want to hear it, then maybe I'll put it as like the last 30 minutes of the anniversary episode, the 10th anniversary episode. I don't know, but again, there's like 115 episodes of the Bladtcast that are not available, and I've often thought like, I would put those up if people wanted to hear them. But then people don't ask for them, except for David Hines, who asked me if I could send him Bladtcast 1. I was like, sure, no problem. Happy to do it. On an upcoming episode, once I've re-listened to it, David was kind enough to send me a recap of episode 1. So I know a little bit about it, but I haven't actually heard it in a while. So let us know if it's something that you in the audience are interested in checking out sometime in the future. Also, sometime in the future, we'll be back for more Bladtcast, but one place that we won't be back. This is the last show for the Bladtcast, and people would wish that the sentence ended there. No, it's not. I'm sorry. This is the last. This is the last show for the Bladtcast that I'll be recording in my murder room in my bunker because we're moving. We got to get out of this place. But oddly enough, my sister-in-law and her husband are going to move into our townhouse for a couple of years. So it's not like I couldn't possibly, break in, record a show back down here. But I got to take all this stuff. I got to pack it up. So it's basically going to be like the last episode of Cheers in a minute, where we're closed. It's exactly what's going to happen. And maybe you'll even hear the Cheers theme. It's probably a copyright strike though, so probably won't hear it. So it's been an adventure, starting to do the show this way. How first we would do it at the studio, the Dennis Miller studio. That was the easiest way to do it. And then we would do it at Premiere, and there's only really one incident that stemmed out of that.
When George Norrie lost his shit on me.
Yeah. And then that happened to be the one where we decided that we would drink beers in studio.
I had beer. There was a lot of those episodes, but that one in particular was And then we would do it. Sometimes we would record at Will's house. We did that for a while. Oh yeah.
And a lot of shows at AfterBuzz TV. Great facilities that they paid for so that we could do this great little show. And then the pandemic really dictated we started doing it this way. And I think the best part about doing it this way is it's a little easier to schedule, but then also we didn't lose Jeff when he moved across country, because if we were in studio and Jeff was on Skype, I think, you'd still be faster and funnier than both of us, but it would, there'd be a little bit of lag, but we all have lag. And I think it's been fun to do it this way. But I'll have a new background, probably a lot of the same shit behind me though, on some shelves. And then wait till I show off I'll just give a little tease for the future. My son Felix and my daughter Lucy each got to pick the color of their room, and Felix picked green, and it is a shade of green that made me realize, I'm never going to need to buy a green screen, because I can just bring a table into Felix's room, and I'll show it off one day. Don't worry. And it's some green. But until next time, Jeff, you don't want to be found, but do you have any words of wisdom to share with Bladtcast Nation on your way out?
No.
Well said. Will Sterling, get in the plugs. Get them all in.
History Rated R is the podcast you can listen to. I guess that's the only plug right now. Nothing crazy.
And just tease the fact that there will be an announcement about the book.
Yeah, an announcement for an announcement. I'm going to do all the teasers for teasers.
So it's like a
trailers.
save the date for the save the date.
Yeah, like every time
Like we're
Marvel
going to
has a
send
new
the save the
trailer.
dates out in March.
Right.
For a wedding that'll be eventually.
Be ready. Yeah.
Be ready for it. And of course, at Will Sterling _.
That's right. Instagram and Twitter. That's where you can find me.
Yeah. And this will live on forever thanks to Jacob Lee Down.
He's missing the no, though.
Yeah, that's true. Uh-oh. Cami Egan had an important question. Jeff, is your dog a Cane Corso?
She is.
Cane Corso is actually my favorite, the backup villain from Amazing Spider-Man 14 with the angry girlfriend variant. Cane Corso, I believe, is actually the Juggernaut's real name.
You guys,
in any case,
they were having a little battle here right next to me. The cat had jumped up on the seat, so Mary had to come get in between them, and that's why I was constantly over here trying to pet them and get them to calm down.
So there's multiple pups there on hand.
There's the dog and then the cat. So the cat had jumped up on the chair, and the dog was like, "Get the fuck away from him! He's busy."
Yeah. Well, glad that we were able to get that in, and Cami Egan really, popped in for the most interesting part of the show. In any case, that is all the time we have for now. We'll see you next time on the Bladtcast. But until then, we're closed.
He's got to stop the streams.